everybody. Thanks for joining me for another week here of our This Travel Tribe podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about lots of fun things to do in Phoenix in the wintertime. So it's right now November. I feel like here in Phoenix, we are on the cusp of the weather finally turning amazing. Hoping. Today is a little warm. It's still 91 and it's, mid-November, but we're hoping for the best that here in the next couple of months, end of November into December and January, February, it's going to be prime time to be here in Phoenix. And I almost hate to even share it with you because, I don't really want it to be totally crowded and crazy here in Phoenix, but I feel that it's my responsibility to let you know about how amazing it is here in what we call the Valley of the Sun. And there are so many great things. Today I thought that I would share a list that I've made for you with 10 different amazing things that we love to do as a family. There are a couple of them that we haven't done yet, but I want to do them. And then, of course, our favorite things here on this list. Okay, so I've got you covered. I have 3 pages here of ideas. I will go through them quickly. You can jot down notes. But of course, if you can't take notes or you just, don't want to write things down right now, or you aren't coming to Phoenix right now, this is going to be saved for you on the show notes over at thistraveltribe.com. You can look for the Phoenix in the Winter episode and find all of this information there. It'll all be linked up for you and it'll be ready to go. So you'll have a perfect little travel guide if you are lucky enough to be heading to Phoenix this winter or some winter in the future. All right, first up, something that I just can't resist recommending enough in the winter. This is like prime hiking time here in Phoenix. And I can't get enough of hiking. I'm lucky enough to have some friends that love to hike. So we get out and hike pretty much every week. So I've done a lot of different hikes here in Phoenix. And it actually was hard to narrow it down. But I have 4 suggestions here for you today. And my criteria for picking them is that they are pretty easy. They are not too long. And I think that kids could do them as well as most, fairly able adults. Of course, you need to use your own judgment based on, your own health and any limitations you may have. But I will give you a rundown on 4 that I want to recommend. First of all is Broadway Cave. This one is in the Superstition Mountains. And I love this hike because you get to hike to a cave, as the name of the hike suggests, and it ends at the cave, and it's a really big cave. I mean, very high. You'll probably see some bats flying around, depending on the season that you're there. And so I just love a hike that has a really good reward, and I think that kids will also like it. This one is 3.7 miles, and it has an 800-foot climb. So it's a pretty good climb because most of it happens in the last half mile. So you're hiking along, you get to about almost a mile and a half and you're like, this hasn't been that bad. There is, of course, a slight incline, but then you get to that last half mile and you really have to push to get up the mountain, up those 800 feet. Coming down is a little steep, but then you're kind of on this gradual descent all the way back to your car. So just something to keep in mind if you are not in great physical shape, maybe that's not the hike for you. But it has beautiful views. It feels like you're in this cactus forest at times, especially when you look back and you just see this ocean of cactus. It's just beautiful. And you can have nice views of the valley. And I think it's just a spectacular hike. Next suggestion is called the Hieroglyphic hike. This one is also in South Mountain, and I think that it's great because, as the name suggests, you get to see hieroglyphics. These are from, I don't even know what. They're super old, ancient, from Native Americans, like actual hieroglyphics. They aren't protected and as far as you walking up to them, so you can go right up. You could touch them. I wouldn't recommend that, but you could get some really cool pictures of them because you're going to be right up close and personal with the hieroglyphics. This is only a 3-mile round trip, so it's an in and out. So a mile and a half in, a mile and a half out. You climb about 600 feet, so it is a nice gradual climb, but nothing too terrible. I was actually out doing that hike today, and we passed a group of several moms with a bunch of little kids, and they looked pretty young, like 5 years old, maybe 8 to 8 years old. And they were all trekking along doing the hike. And it was over 80 degrees. So it was hot. I really don't recommend hiking when it's that hot, especially if you are not from Phoenix and not used to the heat. But if you're here more wintertime, the weather's going to be great, and that's not going to be an issue as far as the heat. Okay, two more suggestions. One is Fat Man's Pass. This one is in South Mountain, which is in just south of Phoenix. And this one is just under 4 miles. It's like 3.7 miles. And you climb, let's see, 925 feet elevation gain. So this one has the most elevation gain, but it's also longer than one of the others. So it's not terribly that much harder. They're all kind of similar. The fun thing about this one is, as the name suggests, there's this Fat Man's Pass where there are two rocks that are super close together, and you've got to kind of shimmy through. I have to take my backpack off to fit through. If you're concerned that you won't fit, or you just don't really want to go in this tight space, you can just climb over the rock, and that's totally easy to do too. It is open at the top, and you can see the end, so it's not like you're going into a cave or anything, but it's just kind of a fun thing to do on this hike. It's kind of in the middle, so it's a big loop. So you get to the kind of end of the loop, you do Fat Man's Pass, and then you loop on back and head to your car. So that one's pretty fun. And now one that our family has done so many times, and I recommend pretty much for all ages, and that is in Papago Park. It's right by the zoo and botanical gardens. If you're there, it's called Hole in the Rock. This one is 0.3 miles. So yes, it is a very short hike. It's an in and out. And as the name suggests, these are all aptly named hikes. There is a hole in the rock. So you will hike up this 0.15 hill, basically, up to this hole, and it overlooks the valley, and it's really cool views. We used to take our kids out there all the time because it was just a short, super short, easy hike. It is a bit of a climb, a little bit of a climb. It's like 45 feet elevation. So, I mean, super quick. I saw on all trails that it takes an average of 7 minutes to complete this hike. For us, it would always take longer because we'd get up to the hole in the rock, and there's a place to sit, and you can just sit and enjoy time there. I'd say I'd plan on spending about an hour total from, getting out of your car to getting back. So those are 4 fun hikes. If you are coming and you want more hike suggestions, or specific needs or things you want to see, I would be happy to try and make a suggestion for you. I did want to say one hike that I do not recommend that you do is Camelback Mountain. I know it's very popular. If you're coming to Phoenix and you Google hikes, that's probably going to be at the top of the list. But this hike is extremely challenging. You're going to be rock scrambling. You're going to be using your arms. You're like on all fours. You're climbing. It's very steep. And so if you are not in decent hiking condition, this hike is not going to be fun for you. Now, if you hike all the time and you love climbing and all of that, totally go for it. But if you're bringing a bunch of little kids and you want to get out and explore in Phoenix, I would not recommend Camelback Mountain. People get rescued off of there. There's a helipad up there. Like, I don't know why it's kind of sold as like the hike you do in Phoenix, because I don't think that it's the best hike to do, just because it is difficult, and it's also really crowded, and finding a parking spot can be challenging. You can start at either end of the hike. I mean, one end you have to park on the street, and sometimes you're a mile from the trailhead because there's so many cars. So, I mean, unless you're just really dying to do Camelback, which is a great hike I've done several times, but I don't recommend it as your one hike that you're going to do when you're here in Phoenix. All right, next up is something that is newer to me and I absolutely love, and that is golfing. Coming to Phoenix and golfing in the winter is like a dream, because if you are coming from anywhere cold or snowy, you are not golfing. And so if you can come here to the sunshine, and we have 330 days of sun here in Phoenix, so it's most likely going to be sunny while you're here, and you can get out on some beautiful golf courses. There are so many gorgeous courses in Paradise Valley and Scottsdale. many public courses, so you don't have to worry about that. Uh, there are some courses here closer to me that I like to go out on, just mostly because they're less expensive and they aren't really fancy. And since I'm new to golf, I don't feel like I need like the fanciest spot. Like Shalimar is a great kind of beginner course in Tempe. So if you're near ASU or downtown Tempe, I think that would be a great place to go. Or there's places like Arizona Golf Resort, which sounds fancy, but it isn't. It's, of course, there's patches of grass that aren't beautiful and it's not well manicured and gorgeous, but it's really inexpensive. And so if you're looking just to get out for the day and enjoy a golf course and being outdoors, you can find some less expensive courses, for like $40 for a game instead of, I don't know, 200. I don't know. I don't even go to the fancy courses, but they are definitely out there. Just do a web search and you will find them. All right. Next up, this one is golf related, but I have been to this event even before I started golfing and even knew one thing about golf, and that is the Phoenix Open. It is in February, coming up here in 2024, sorry, and it's just a really fun event. It lasts all week long, like Monday through Sunday, and it's the best golfers here on, it's one of the tournaments, and they are here in Phoenix golfing. You can get a general admission ticket for about $80 and wander around for the whole day and just watch golfing. We've been lucky enough to have been invited to the Skybox at box 16, and it's a really fun hole because it's short and you get to watch, and it's just rowdy people and they're yelling and they're cheering, which is a little unusual for golf. Usually it's very quiet and, more distinguished, but Phoenix is a little bit more of a rowdy golf watching crowd. So if you're at all interested in that and just doing kind of a different event, that could be something fun for you to check out. All right. Suggestion number 4 is one that I briefly mentioned about when I said hole in the rock, and that is the Desert Botanical Gardens. I love going there in the winter. Summer, no. Winter, absolutely. You're going to see so many beautiful desert plants. I hope that you would be surprised at what diversity there is with the desert plants when you go and visit the Desert Botanical Garden. One thing to note is that in December, they do a beautiful luminaria display. So if you're lucky enough to be coming here in December, I recommend that you book tickets to the luminarias at the Desert Botanical Gardens as soon as you can, because they do sell out, especially weekends. They get, really busy. It's super popular. You have to have a timed entry on a specific day. So, like I said, if you're coming, plan ahead. As soon as you know you're coming, get those tickets booked. It's a beautiful night. The weather is always nice. Like you'll want probably a light jacket, maybe a beanie, that's really more for fun than necessity, probably. And then they're going to have lots of different music groups spread throughout the botanical gardens with seating at each of the musical groups. And you can just kind of enjoy the evening wandering around, purchase some hot chocolate or a other warm drink, and enjoy all the different musical performances and then all the luminarias that are spread throughout the botanical gardens. You will not see as many of the plants at that time, so you may want to consider a daytime and a nighttime visit, just depending on your time, but that is something really fantastic that we love doing. All right, another thing that I never would have thought I would enjoy, but I've been a few times and I think it's super fun, and that is the Barrett-Jackson car auction. This happens in January every year in Scottsdale, and it's fascinating. There are so many cars, many vintage cars, but they're all like in pristine condition. They've been fixed up, they're shiny, they're beautiful, and they are up for auction. So the auctioneer is fascinating to listen to, like just everything you would hope for when you hear an auctioneer going as fast as possible. And so you get to watch the auction, but there are also lots of different tents and areas with just lots of cars that you can look at. There's some fun food vendors, and it's just a fun way to come and spend like 3 or 4 hours during the day or in the evening and just checking out cars. So especially if you have someone who is interested in cars, that would be something fantastic to do. But even if you're just mildly interested in cars but looking for something fun to do, I do think that you would enjoy your time at the Barrett-Jackson car auction. All right, so we're halfway through the list, already to number 6, and that is to go horseback riding. When I think of Phoenix, as far as from a tourist perspective, I think that you kind of think that it's going to be like Wild West and cowboys and shootouts and all that kind of stuff, which you can find that, and I'm going to tell you where to find a shootout in here in a minute. But horseback riding, like I just think that it kind of goes hand in hand with this desert vibe that we have here. Now, Phoenix really is a big city, and it isn't cowboyish or kind of like outdoors and all. I mean, it is outdoors, but like that outdoor living, like intense and very like remote and that kind of thing. Like we are very distinguished here now, but we do have some fun, kind of more touristy things that play into the cowboy or more rustic Western theme that you would kind of want if you're coming to Phoenix. So horseback riding is a great one. Personally, I would just recommend that you do a web search for horseback riding and find a place that is well rated near wherever you decide to stay. But I do think that would be something fun to do because you'd get outdoors and you'd see beautiful views no matter where you are. I think that you will notice that many of the things here on my list include being outdoors because that is partially why you'd want to come here in the winter. It just is such a fantastic time to get outside, enjoy the sunshine, but without it being too hot, and it just feels amazing. All right, so number 7, this is where you can go for the shootout, and that is you can visit Goldfield Ghost Town. This is out in Apache Junction, so it is on the east end of Phoenix, and you can go. This was actually a mining town back in the 1880s, 1890s. It was booming. They were mining, being super successful. At one point, I was reading that they were doing so well that they were going to pass up Mesa in population. And Mesa is a humongous city here now, so it's kind of funny to think about. But this was an actual mining town. It had a little boom right after 1900 into the 20s, but then it has fizzled. But the shops are still there. There were saloons. There was a schoolhouse. What else did they have? They had a blacksmith shop, a general store. And so all of those things are there for you to go through and check out. If you want to visit there, they offer a lot of different fun activities, like you can actually tour the mine, go down into the mine. They have added zip lining, which I'm certain was not there in 1880, but it is there now. So you can do that. You can pan for gold. You can go in this mystery shack that seems kind of fun and random, like water runs the wrong way and the rooms are angled at like 45-degree angles and that kind of thing. There's a reptile house. You can watch a shootout. There is a restaurant. So lots of different things. Oh, the railroad too. You can also ride the railroad. The only drawback that I can see about this place is that each of the things costs a different fee. And so, if you don't want to drop a ton of money, maybe you just pick like 1 or 2 things you want to do. The shootout and the panning for gold are free, and you can wander around the town. So I just think that would be something really fun, kind of Western themed, little bit of history, and it would just be a fun time. So you can head out to the Goldfield Ghost Town. All right, number 8, this is like complete opposite of the ghost town, and that is Christmas at the Princess. If you are here in December, Princess Hotel, Fairmont Princess in Scottsdale does this huge shebang for Christmas. They have an ice skating rink. They have Santa. They have like all kinds of Christmassy things. You can do s'mores and just feel the magic. They have like an ice cave thing you can go in. But similar to the Goldfield Mine tour, at Christmas at the Princess, a lot of the things do cost extra money depending on what you want. It is $35 a person to get in, so depending on the size of your group, it could be kind of steep. If it's just like you and a date, that could be a really fun night. S'mores, I believe, are included. All the Christmas lights are included, and just like the festive atmosphere. But then if you want like a special time to be with Santa and Mrs. Claus and get photos, that does cost extra. Or if you want to ice skate, that costs extra. So it's super magical. You can do a stay and play package where you go stay at the hotel and do all that stuff. Or if you just don't want to stay at the hotel, you can just buy tickets to the different activities that you want to do. All right, number 9. I thought that it would be fun to continue on with our Western vibe and suggest 2 different restaurants that I think would be really fun for you to go and visit if you're kind of wanting like that cowboy Western vibe feel. So first recommendation is Santan Flats, and this is out in Queen Creek. So it could be a little far depending on where you're staying. Queen Creek is on the southeast corner of Phoenix. But they have lots of picnic tables outside and fire pits. They have steaks and burgers, and it's just a really fun atmosphere. I actually haven't been there yet, but it's been recommended to me several times. Even my cousin from New York, every time she comes, she goes there because she just loves it so much. And so it's funny. She's like, why haven't you been there? It's like one of the coolest places. So I was like, I have to include that on my list, just as a great place to go. And then Rustler's Roost, which I have been to several times. And this is in Phoenix, kind of South Phoenix area. And it's fun. It's just like they have steaks, they have rattlesnake, they have cool windows overlooking the like the valley of Phoenix. And one thing that I think is really fun is as you come into the restaurant, you can go down a slide to slide down into the restaurant. So whether you're young or young at heart, you could definitely come on into the restaurant going down this old tin slide that they have there. So I think that's something fun and unique about Rustler's Roost. All right, final recommendation for now. I do have more ideas, so maybe we'll need a part 2. But for today is to visit Taliesin West. This is a really fun place and interesting. If you are interested at all in architecture or Frank Lloyd Wright, he, was a famous architect. He had a school and home here, and he named it Taliesin West. And now it's more of a museum, and you can go out and go on a tour. We have done that before, and I thought that it was really fascinating. I mean, you just are able to learn so much, enjoy the views, enjoy the home, which is totally unique. It's a lot of like indoor and outdoor spaces, and then also tour his architecture school. And so, if you have people coming into town or you are coming into town, I think that's something really unique that you could go and do. If you have a lot of younger kids with you, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I think they might not be that interested in it. But older kids, adults, I think that they would find something interesting and they would be able to learn something. And that's always fun when you're traveling. All right, so there you have it. There's my quick list of things to do in Phoenix if you are lucky enough to get to visit in the winter. There's so much to do here. You could always check out my other episodes that I've done on Phoenix. I've done some on just places to eat, also things to do in the summer. I will say that most of the summer activities would also work in the winter because they're indoors, things like different favorite museums and that kind of thing. So if you're wanting even more ideas, check out my Phoenix in the summer to just see where you can go and have nice temperature control for whatever you're doing. But there's so much to do here, and I think that it's such a fantastic place. So if you have any questions about visiting Phoenix, specifically in the winter or really any time of year, I would love to try to answer it or send you in the right direction to figure it out. And so I hope that this list has helped you come up with some fun things to do in Phoenix in the winter. So until next time, I hope that you're able to get out and enjoy time with your family and make memories with those you love.